Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. So, the vast majority of us in here trade using prop firms, and for many different reasons, right? I mean, there are a lot of advantages of trading prop firms. Personally, I like them. I think it's much better than risking your own capital. The risk reward is certainly better. Um, so, I definitely I prefer prop firms, but so it's new for a lot of people, and there are some aspects to it that have a lot of nuance that I think people need to try to understand. So go ahead and cover some of that. So what is a prop firm? Prop firm is a business model where the firm provides the capital and then the trader does the work and you get a profit and loss split. So most prop firms do like a 90-10 split where the trader keeps 90% of the money and the prop firm takes 10% of the money. It's Top Step. It's Top Step's pretty much their model all the way throughout. Others have like a graduating scale. So like your first payout, you get to keep 70%. The next one you keep 80. The next one you keep 90, and so forth. there are various phases depending on the prop firm you go with. Most prop firms, in the traditional sense, have an evaluation phase where, like at Top Step, for example, you give them $50. They say, okay, here's your $50,000 eval. You have to make $3,000 without losing $2,000. All right, great. So you pass the eval. That next phase is a sim funding phase. So it is a funded account. You do get paid on the gains, but it is not in the live markets. Your order executions are not live. They're sim fills. So they're B book, as they're called in the industry, fills. And it's all simulated. And then once you do well enough in that, if you let them, they'll push you into live funding, which is where, for the most part now, there really aren't any advantages to it. But if that's what you want to do, by all means, have at it. Fundamentals of risk management. So why does risk management matter? One, honestly, I think the key to why risk management matters is because that is what's going to set you apart from the vast majority of traders. We'll discuss some numbers here. I've discussed them many times before. So out of 100,000 people that start a trading combine, 0.72%, less than 1%, will actually take a payout. Out of that 0.72%, 70% of traders out of that group will actually not take a second payout on that account. So 72 out of 100,000, you lose 49. That leaves 23. 23 out of 100,000 will take more than one payout on a funded account. That's why risk management matters. It's very important that you manage risk and understand that it is what's going to be the thing that keeps you in the game. Over leveraging can work temporarily, but when you run into a rough patch or when you run into a choppy market, when you run into Trump tariff news or whatever, it can punch you right in the face. So it's very important that you manage risk. Key concepts we're going to talk about: position sizing, risk per trade, and risk reward ratio. And I get asked a lot on position sizing. How many contracts are you using? The number of contracts are not as important as the dollar amount risk per trade. Okay, so if I have a $50,000 prop firm account, I do not want to risk more than 1%, which would be a $500 risk on that account, because I'm starting with $2,000 worth of available drawdown. So if I lose 4 trades in a row at $500, then you're only going to get, you're going to blow the account. So, $500 should be the max that you risk on a 50K account. No, we're all in here. We're all in here, man. Champ wanted to do it for everybody, so we're doing it in here. All right, so the risk per trade. So position sizing, your position sizing should be determined by the amount of risk per trade. Don't focus on the number of contracts. Focus on the risk that you're taking per trade. If you try to trade with just the exact same amount of contracts all the time, on some days you're going to get absolutely hosed because you're going to miss out. and on other days you're going to get absolutely smacked if it goes against you. So you don't want to do that. Risk to reward ratio is incredibly important, and the key to that is going to be, you want your risk to not outweigh the potential reward. In that, as say you see a setup on the chart, if I'm going to risk $500, if I know that my win rate is X percent, I talked about this a little bit earlier in the live. If I know that my win rate is only 50%, well, that means if I need to make at least a 1-to-1 just to break even. Anything more than that, I'll make money. You should probably shoot for at least a 2-to-1. It's not a strict scale, but as a general rule, you should try to shoot for at least 2-to-1. My average is over 3-to-1, it's 3.2-to-1, and my win rate is 76%. So I come out pretty far ahead. There are going to be times, though, guys, and here's why risk management matters. Because even though I know I'm going to win the majority of the time, and it's going to be a pretty good trade when I do, if I risk too much, I'm going to blow my accounts. I'm going to get really frustrated, because you can have periods of extended losses. You can just the random nature of the game. You can take multiple losses in a row. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're going through something. Maybe your head's not right or whatever. Maybe the market conditions are absolutely terrible. You can take a number of losses in a row. So it's important that you find a way to protect yourself. All right, prop firm specific limits and metrics. Daily loss limit. A lot of prop firms do have a daily loss limit. That's the max you can lose in a day without blowing the account. They just turn you off for that day. All right, you can't trade anymore. You hit your daily loss limit. You're done. If a firm does not have a daily loss limit and you're trying to protect your capital, you should instill a personal daily loss limit where, all right, I've hit this particular marker. I can't lose any more than that. I need to make sure that I shut things down for the day. So if they don't have a daily loss limit that they force on you, you need to instill one on your own. Maximum loss limit. If you hit your maximum loss limit, you blow your account. That one's over. You need to protect against hitting the maximum loss limit. You need to know if they have time-based rules. Some prop firms have rules around what they call micro scalping to protect against algorithmic trading. So you have to hold your trades for at least 10 seconds or 15 seconds or whatever. Make sure you understand that. Leverage and margin calls for cash accounts. So if you have a cash account and you're trading your own money, then you need to understand leverage and margin calls, what the rules are for your specific broker, and what you need to do in order to protect against getting a margin call and having to put more money in the account. So, all right, next, common pitfalls and behavioral biases. I see this in high roller chat all the time. Trading can be kind of streaky. You can have a time where you can't lose. Then you go through a time where it seems like you can't win. Over trading after wins, the hot hand fallacy. You're like, I can't lose right now. I'm on fire. So you tend to size up. You tend to over leverage, and you tend to overtrade. That is a recipe for disaster, because all it takes is one to go against you, and then boom, you just lost the whole thing. Revenge trading after losses. This is due to an aversion to admitting mistakes. It's very important that you accept, hey, cut your losses quickly. You don't want to let losses continue to go against you, because they can go a really long way against you before you finally acquiesce to the market's conditioning. Take your losses quickly and avoid big losses. If you're trading whatever strategy you're trading, if you trade smart money concepts like me, if you trade support and resistance like Champ and Brit, if you trade data like Lips, if you trade EMAs like Oakley, whatever you trade, find whatever invalidates your trade. Back test, find out, okay, typically when this happens, that's going to be bad for me. Cut that quickly. And try and don't revenge trade. If you have to take a walk after you take a loss, by all means, take a walk after you take a loss. Whatever it is that is going to help you clear your head and come back and see price clearly, have at it. But just getting right back in after you take a loss, that's a recipe for disaster. I would suggest at least giving yourself a 5-minute timeout and say, okay, I got to walk away for 5 minutes, then I'll come back and reconsider. Anchoring on entry price, you get confirmation bias. It's this can happen to anybody and everybody. You get into it and you're like, no, it's going to go this way because this is in discount or this is in premium, so it's got to go my way. It's going to blah blah. It doesn't have to do anything. The market is the market because it doesn't have to do anything. The market is the market because it determines fair value, and your job is to determine what the market thinks about the value of your position. Does it agree that your position is good, or does the market think that your position is bad? If the market thinks your position is bad, you should probably change positions because you're going to get wrecked. All right, so this is something that I use called the Stockdale Paradox. It is from a book called Good to Great, which, yes, is a business book. It's a fantastic business book, but it's definitely not trading related. So I'm going to read this. You guys, I think the principles from this particular part of it apply really well to trading. It applies to really a lot of aspects of your life. But here we go. So every good to great company faced significant adversity along the way to greatness of one sort or another. In every case, the management team responded with a powerful psychological duality. On the one hand, they stoically accepted the brutal facts of reality. On the other hand, they maintained an unwavering faith in the end game and a commitment to prevail as a great company despite the brutal facts. We came to call this duality the Stockdale Paradox. The name refers to Admiral Jim Stockdale, who was the highest-ranking United States military officer in the Hanoi Hilton prisoner of war camp during the height of the Vietnam War. Tortured over 20 times during his 8-year imprisonment from 1965 to 1973, Stockdale lived out the war without any prisoner's rights, no set release date, and no certainty as to whether he would even survive to see his family again. You can understand, then, my anticipation at the prospect of spending part of an afternoon with Stockdale. One of my students had written his paper on Stockdale, who happened to be a senior research fellow studying the Stoic philosophers at the Hoover Institution right across the street from my office, and Stockdale invited the two of us for lunch. In preparation, I read In Love and War, the book Stockdale and his wife had written in alternating chapters chronicling their experience during those 8 years. As I moved through the book, I found myself getting depressed. It just seemed so bleak, the uncertainty of his fate, the brutality of his captors, and so forth, and then it dawned on me. Here I am, sitting in my warm and comfortable office, looking out over the beautiful Stanford campus on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I'm getting depressed reading this, and I know the end of the story. I know that he gets out, reunites with his family, becomes a national hero, and gets to spend the later years of his life studying philosophy on this same beautiful campus. It feels depressing for me. How on earth did he deal with this when he was actually there and did not know the end of the story? I never lost faith in the end of the story, he said when I asked him. I never doubted not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end and turn the experience into the defining event of my life, which, in retrospect, I would not trade. I didn't say anything for many minutes, and we continued the slow walk toward the faculty club, Stockdale limping and arc-swinging his stiff leg and never fully recovered from repeated torture. Finally, after about 100 meters of silence, I asked, "Who didn't make it out?" "Oh, that's easy," he said. "The optimists." "The optimists? I don't understand," I said, now completely confused, given what he'd said 100 meters earlier. "The optimists? Oh, they were the ones that said, we're going to be out by Christmas, and Christmas would come and Christmas would go. Then they'd say, we're going to be out by Easter, and Easter would come and Easter would go, and then Thanksgiving, and then it would be Christmas again, and they died of a broken heart." Another long pause and more walking, and then he turned to me and said, "This is a very important lesson. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they might be." So, a lot of times, what we do when we're trading, We fail to manage risk because we think, thanks. We fail to manage risk because we think, okay, I have to make this much money by this date. I'm going to be profitable. I'm going to do this. I'm going to blah, 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 whatever. Forget that. You need to have unwavering faith in your edge and in your improvement process, and understand that over time, you're going to be a winner. And that's going to where your long-term confidence is going to come from. Back testing. It's going to come from journaling. It's going to come from understanding the mistakes that you made and overcoming those in the future. The brutal facts that you have to keep track of are rigorously honest P&L tracking. So every day you journal, you keep track. Okay, today was a good day. I was up. Today was a bad day. I finished up, but I didn't follow my rules, blah, blah, blah. Today was a terrible day. I lost. Today was a bad day. I lost, but I followed my rules, and the market just went against me. I need to back test more. Whatever those brutal facts are, be honest with yourself about them, because when the biggest mistake most people make in almost every aspect of their lives is they lie to themselves. Then when they don't succeed, it's somebody else's fault, or that the market's just against me, or blah, 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 whatever excuse. Forget that. The excuses stop with you. Either you are going to do the work that you need to do to be successful. You are going to put the effort in. You are going to journal. You are going to back test. You are going to find your edge and what works for you, or you are not. At the end of the day, it all comes down to you. It's not the market. It's not anybody else's fault but your own. Hanky said she lost my voice. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, good. All right, so, yeah, at the end of the day, it all boils down to you. You can blame it on whoever else, whatever. It's you. Managing risk is what's going to keep you in this game. If you think that oversizing is going to get you rich quickly, you are dead wrong. It might get you rich temporarily, but it will not last because you're only gambling. So it's very important in doing so that you integrate psychology into your risk management framework. It's imperative, honestly, that you do these things. 1, set goals. Now, I will caution you to not set a daily goal. I understand a lot of people do it, and I understand the reason why they do it. But I'm going to tell you why I don't do it. I like to average a certain amount a day over a week. All right, so if I want to average $500 a day, then I know for the week I need to make $2,500. 1, it takes the pressure of today off. I don't have to worry about making all of it today. 2, you are not guaranteed the range that the market is going to give you in any given day. Maybe the range the market gives you is only going to give you half of what your goal is for the day. Now what you're going to do is you're going to push yourself to overtrade because you're trying to hit a daily goal. Forget that. Goals are important, but your goals need to be related to execution and not to dollar amounts. Okay? Make sure that your goal, the only thing you can control in terms of dollar amount is the amount you risk on a daily basis. You cannot control the amount you make on a daily basis. The range of the market is not guaranteed in any given day. And the participation of everybody else in the market is not guaranteed in any given day. So goal setting is important, but it's important that you do it over a time frame that can cause you to average out the number that you're looking for, rather than saying, I've got to hit this number today. Forget that. Journaling. Journaling is extremely important, and it's very underrated. A lot of people that are unprofitable fail to do it, and a lot of people that are profitable do it. So if you want to figure out the difference between where you are and where you want to be, that is probably a really good starting point. If you're not journaling, I would suggest doing it. I don't care if you do it in a spiral notebook, a Word document, if you use TradeZella, if you use any other tool online, whatever, by all means. Find a way to keep track of your trades. Keep track of what did or did not work. Do not, under any circumstances, blame the market for your losses. If it was a news event, put Trump said tariffs and it killed me. All right, that's fair. It happens. But when that happens, you shouldn't have been over risked, and it shouldn't be a problem for you. So keep that in mind. Find somebody that you can be accountable with, whether it's peer-to-peer or a mentor. If you're in the mentorship group here, obviously you can reach out to any of the traders and you can talk to us. Peer-to-peer, man, find somebody in chat that you can relate to, that you guys get along. You like what they share in chat, or you like the way that they interact with everybody else. Man, or just as a group, put it in the group chat and be like, hey, man, here's where I am, guys. I'm really struggling. I'm trying really hard. If you go back and if you've been in high roller and you look at Sarah, but she struggled for months. Then she turned the corner and boom, she was trying to be accountable to the group, and then she finally got some things straightened out, and now look at her, she's killing it. Adaptive response. So you need to make sure that you're not just going with a fixed response to everything in the market. So pause trading after your limit hits. If you hit your daily loss limit, man, lock yourself out. It's okay. Everybody has red days. The problem is you're losing days. The goal should be that your losing days should be half of what your winning days are in terms of dollar amount. So if your average winning day, if you go back and you look, my average winning day is $1,000. Well, your average losing day shouldn't be more than $500. So if your average winning day is $1,000, $500 should be your daily loss limit. Does that make sense? So your adaptive response there needs to be, okay, I hit my $500 right out of the gate because I over leveraged. I need to go back and I need to journal. How was I feeling? What was I thinking? What happened this morning? Did I change my routine? All the things. And those kinds of things will help you the next time you're in that situation to avoid the same mistakes you just made in this one. Adjust position sizing or strategy based on drawdown size. I already talked about this a little bit earlier. Your position size, your number of contracts you trade with should be based on the dollar amount you're willing to risk, not based on the fact, well, I always trade 3 NQ. Okay, well, you know what? Your stop loss is 300 points away right now because they're doing tariff talks. So that 3 NQ is absolutely going to wreck you if it hits. You can't do that. So you've got to have adaptive reasoning to your position sizing. All right, I got to hurry up. I'm running behind. All right, case study example walkthrough. Trader hits 50% of his available drawdown on the first day. How to apply the Stockdale mindset. One, you start a combine, you decide, okay, I'm going to give myself $1,000 daily loss limit. I've got $2,000 total. I lost $1,000 the first day. Believe in your long-term edge. Go back and look at, okay, do I have an edge with this particular strategy over time? Yes. All right. So I know that I have a long-term edge. Yes, today's losses are real and they suck. You can't say, well, it's the market's fault, blah, blah, blah. No, you can't. That is never going to get you out of where you are. As long as you're blaming the market, you're never going to get anywhere. That's you basically shirking responsibility. And you have to accept the hard truths that it is your fault. So face that today's losses are real, accept it, understand, okay, implement an adjusted plan for tomorrow. So the adjusted plan, if I lost 50% the first day, then I want to make sure that the second day, my daily loss limit is $500. I don't want to go all in. I want to give myself some time and some runway. So if I risk the 500, I should be able to make the 1,000 back, which gets me back to break even. And then I can go on from there for the next day. That is how you do the adaptive reasoning and how you work through and you adapt the Stockdale mindset to your trading and understanding how it all fits together. So you have to accept the harsh truths, guys. You have to accept that your success, your lack of success all rests on your shoulders. And what are you going to do about it? The sooner you do that, and the sooner you accept the fact that, okay, I can't expect the market to give me X amount of dollars in a day. What I can do is I can control the amount of risk I have on any given trade or throughout the day. That's it. So practical tools and checklist. Pre-market risk management checklist. Review max loss limits and recent P&L trends. So how much equity do I have in my account? What has my P&L been trending? Do I have 2 winning days for each losing day? Am I on a win streak? Am I on a losing streak? Whatever. Kind of absorb that going into the day and understand how you're going to manage your risk around that situation. Mental Stockdale check. Faith versus facts. You can have all the faith in the world in the market, but the facts might be telling you something different, guys. Accept the facts. Have faith in your system, but understand the facts of the situation. You might need to make some changes. Real-time dashboards. Keep this kind of information in front of you so that you have automated alerts on drawdown thresholds. If you use Project X, all that's right in front of you. Visual P&L is the same way. All right in front of you. It's easy to use, easy to see. And a post-session review. So at the end of the day, or whenever you decide to stop trading for the day, or after each trade, you journal your entries. What was your emotional state like? What is that actual P&L data? How much did you make? How much did you risk? How much did you lose? Whatever. These are going to be the things that are going to help push you to profitability. All right, key takeaways. Solid risk management isn't just rules, it's a mindset. So the mindset is what's going to keep you in it. The rules will help give you a framework, but the mindset is the important part of this. Understanding that the amount of money you risk is the only thing that you control on the trade. It is not how much you make that you control, it's how much you risk that you control. So you need to get that in you. The Stockdale paradox keeps you both hopeful and honest. Don't be in denial, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. The other thing I would say that goes along with that is if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. If you want something to change, you have to change it. Consistency over heroics. Small, disciplined steps add up. $400 a day on one account is $100,000 a year. So if you average $400 a day, or over the course of the week, $2,000 over the course of the week, it's $100,000 a year. I think that seems very reasonable for just about everybody. There's not a reason why you can't hit that. And if you can put that together, and you can take these small disciplined steps, they do add up over time. You can stack a number of accounts to have that number be much larger over time, but it's just that simple. All right, books to read that will help you with all of this that I just talked about. A lot of these principles came from these books. One is Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. 2 is The Mental Game of Trading by Jared Tendler. 3 is The Best Loser Wins by Tom Hugard. And 4 is Unfuck Yourself by Gary John Bishop. All of them are fantastic books. I would recommend them to each